Going live. Okay, and I think we are officially live. I'm just giving it a couple seconds because sometimes StreamYard. So, hello everyone in the chat, and thank you to my co-hosts of the Shogun Read Along for joining me. I'm Tori, obviously, and Alex, do you want to introduce yourself for anyone who randomly doesn't know who you are at this point?
Sure. I'm Alex from the channel Tall Guy Reads, where I talk about fantasy, sci-fi mostly, and then sometimes some other types of genres as well. Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Excited to talk
Yay.
the end of Shogun.
Finally.
Word. See, that's not the words of someone who really liked it. Finally is a word of someone who is like glad it's over.
I'm finally glad we are talking about it, Alan.
Yeah, exactly. That's
I've been waiting to talk about it. That is not the same thing.
That's probably true.
Joanna.
All right, I guess I'll go next. Hi, my name is Joanna from the channel Joanna, and I mostly talk about fantasy as well, but I also read other genres as well. And I'm super excited to be here. So thank you, Tori, for hosting this.
Yeah, absolutely. So we could just skip Alan's introduction since, you know. Well, I figured since
We'll
you
just
have a
yell at
mouth
us-
full
yell
of
us at all.
turkey bacon right now. Trying to save your image, Alan.
I am here to talk about why on earth would you be tuning into this one, but not the previous two. So hopefully you know who we are by this point. Weird.
This is the only part of the book that anything happens. Kidding.
But does it, Alex?
I'm just kidding.
That look.
Kinda
Goodness.
Rile up Alan.
Look. Well, I got plenty of info to share with y'all because I read Learning from Shogun, a series of essays literally about everything in Shogun, like the historicity of stuff. And some of it was really good. Some of it was like, I do not care if the food that they ate is historically appropriate. I'm going to skip this essay. I don't care. Moving on, don't care. And I read more about like, Blackthorn and Sepaku and the real people behind it and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the Sepaku stuff.
Well, first of all, I'll give you a fun fact. It is in fact Ishido. First of all, Ishido Mitsunari, like the guy Ishido is based on, like all he did was change it to Ishido instead of Ishida. He was not actually on the Council of Regents, but he was like a pretty influential general at the time. And he actually pissed off another one of the generals in Osaka, and it's he is actually the one who was smuggled himself out dressed as a girl, like Tornaga does in part 1. So it's actually Ishido that happens to,
cool.
not Tornaga, and he's not on the Council of Regents. He's just a general that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why Clavell changed all the names.
Yeah.
Right.
So he could do that.
Changed the names.
Mm-hmm.
Change the letter.
It's really hard to find out who it is. I should probably mention, just on the off chance that somebody wanders in and didn't completely read the title of this video, there will be spoilers for the entirety of Shogun in this discussion.
Yes.
So just to throw that out there, just in case.
I'm glad my camera works. I have my wa has returned. I have great wa. I know.
Your karma's on track.
My karma is on track. Karma. If it doesn't work, just karma, Alex.
Always.
Karma.
Yep. Always karma.
What's karma?
So should we just start with basic, how we all felt about it, and we can all put it in our own words before Alan
Sure.
has
I'll back clean up.
Maybe you should go first, Alan.
So that y'all can then just like tear down my
I'm the only one who liked it.
Yeah. So okay, fine. So basically, I'm the only one that enjoyed this book. But really, finishing this. When I am done, and I know not everybody feels this way. Josh does from Red Fury Books. You'll need to understand that he and I appreciate this on the same level. But don't worry, we're reading Taipan now, and I bet he doesn't like it, and then I'll be his op. So when I finished Shogun, I realized I feel the exact same way when I finished the first two times. I just feel like I have so much has happened to me. Like I've experienced so much. Like I'm just overawed by everything that I've gone through. No, it is not a fast moving book at all. And yes, there's a lot of repetitious sections, but what Shogun sets out, and I think succeeds in doing, is it is just like, it's like you've been transported in time to a month in 1599 AD, in the end of the Warring States period in Japan, and that's it. Like, and you just live for a month, just like Anjin-san, among the Japanese. And when you come away, it takes my breath away. Like, it's like, it was just as big of a masterpiece for me as it was the first 2 times I read it. And I know part of that is because of my just general interest in this time period and the Japanese language and Japanese history. That a lot of that is what carries me through, like, the slower sections. And but it's just like a complete. It's just like, it just feels like a master's level course in, hey guys, Japan. In fact, in the freaking Learning from Shogun, it is something like at the University of California in their Asian Studies program. It's something like 60% of the students in their Asian Studies program are taking it because they have read Shogun, and it's so bizarre. There are sources that say that Clavell did for, like, more people know more about ancient Japan, or 16th century Japan, because of Clavell than any other source, fiction or nonfiction combined. In fact, one of the heads of one of the oil nations, like the OPEC nations, literally approached Clavell and offered him a ton of money for him to write a book about that guy's country that would do for his country what Clavell did for Japan. So I can't even imagine this fiction book that has this broad of an effect on just the cultural zeitgeist. It's just awe-inspiring. Now, the book is not perfect. I completely understand. And you know what? I'm probably going to agree with most of your complaints. A lot of people don't like the fact that it didn't end in Sekigahara. Andrew's one of them. Like, it's not about Sekigahara. Yes, it's leading toward the battle, but that's not what it's about. Just like it's not about Ishido. Like Andrew didn't like the fact that Ishido's just kind of like, no, he is just the opposition. It doesn't matter who it is. He's the opposition. It's about Anjin-san, Mariko, and Tornaga. That is what it's about. And it's about the 3 of their relationship. And it's about, like, I don't know. But, like, I'm getting chills just talking. Like, I love this book so much. Like, Tornaga is so brilliant. And Alex, like, yeah, y'all, like I said, I didn't remember anything from this last part, except for the fact that Tornaga is the one burning Blackthorn's ship, and that he's going to keep burning it. And I was just like, what? What? Like,
I loved it. I love that so much.
Like, and again, and Joanna will mention, like, the why of it, like why Tornaga does it. It's just like it just gets me right in the major feel. Yeah. Anyway, it is a book written for me, and it's written in a weird way, like none of us are used to. It's not the standard kind of fiction book we're used to, and it does take its time, and it sure as heck, like Kyle says in his review, it repeats over and over. Yeah, it does. That's just kind of what happens. Like, it's a lot of circling the same thing, like buying for time. And I think the book does it a lot too, like buys for time. And no, everyone don't commit seppuku at the drop of the hat. Samurai weren't any more eager for death than any of us are. Like, did you already read Kyle's review where it says, like, people eat breakfast, wake up, and then commit seppuku? No, like, seppuku is not. It was not like something that's like, no. It had to be, it had to be a huge deal, like, to commit seppuku. Anyway, so that's my feelings, which they're mine and mine alone. But like, there's just a lot that comes together for me that I just like. I'm just taken aback by how, like, how much we experienced along the way, because isn't the real black ship the friends we met along the way? Like, isn't that really what the black ship is? Whatever, it's stupid.
I love that. No, it's not.
It's just really good. Like, I love it. And I can see how the ending would be disappointing. I do get that. I was just blown away by how early on Tornaga had put these like gambles into motion. So anyway, that's my thoughts.
I don't think I was disappointed by the ending. I think honestly, I really enjoyed the ending. I think it was different than from a lot of things I've read recently, and I think that just comes as someone who's been reading a lot of epic fantasy. A lot of these really long books that are over 1,000 pages are building to this huge climax at the end, and so I was anticipating a little bit of that. But at the same time, by the time I was 900 pages into this book, I was like, this is very different than anything I went in expecting. So I was kind of just going along with the ride. I think in terms of reading experience, the part that didn't work for me as much is also something that worked for me. And the fact that we broke it up in 3 months really helped me kind of digest some of the stuff along the way. But at the same time, it also might have spread it out too much, to the point that I feel like if I was just picking this up and reading it at my own pace and could really just immerse myself and just go through the story at the pace I was going, then it might have sat a little bit well. But overall, I really enjoyed the book. I love the characters. Everything with Tornaga was awesome. It was my favorite part of the entire book, and the whole ending twist, I was just like, this is awesome. This is like, just was perfectly built to, and the payoff was great. And, I liked that. I actually was questioning when we were like 100 pages from the end. I was like, are we even going to see like the battle and all this other stuff that we're building to? And then it just kind of, it became evident that no, we weren't. And it's just about the characters in the moment. And I enjoyed that.
And so I want to speak to that point because, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to comment really quick on all of that stuff, like with Tornaga, like people he literally did that. Tokugawa Ieyasu was known as the most patient man and the most cautious man in Japan at the time. Like, that is who Tokugawa was. So sometimes it's hard to buy. Like, it's just really like, but no, like Tokugawa really was that patient and that cautious. Sorry.
So I have a weird, I think, experience with this book, in the sense that there were a lot of things that I really enjoyed about the book. I think that the character work, especially that of Blackthorn and Tornaga, Mariko, like they all grew so much throughout the story, and just seeing their relationships. The thing that made it hard for me to feel emotionally invested in the story, or why I was not gravitating to the story after a while, is exactly what you were saying about like what you expect in fantasy, Alex, about like this whole scheming plot. I was like, I'm just not that invested in that. Like, I do not care about this battle that's approaching. And when the end, and so like the very reason that I think a lot of people would be disappointed with the end was exactly why I loved the end, because I didn't care about that. I just didn't care. I was like, I'm just not into this. I see how it served a purpose in building all the relationships and doing everything. And a lot of the meaning in the relationships wouldn't have been as impactful if it hadn't been for all the scheming and things that were happening. But on the other hand, I just didn't care. I didn't care about the whole thing with Shogun getting, the whole mission or whatever, the battle thing. So when it ended, and that wasn't the point, and the whole point of the end was just how these characters allowed themselves to be changed and transformed from one another. And how, of course, like the sentimental part of me, how Tornaga says that he keeps everything going, and that, Blackthorn he's going to keep having Blackthorn build that ship because he needed a friend, because he made him laugh and he needed a friend. I know. It was so beautiful.
The fact that he just needed one friend, because he can never trust the people under him. He can never trust his allies because of the nature of, so he needs one guy that he knows he can trust. And like, and we can all identify with that.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss, perfection. The ending for me to this book was perfect.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
The last few lines were, one is about like, oh, Blackthorn's karma is to always be here and serve me. and my karma is to be Shogun. And I was like, yes, okay, here we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, I loved that. I loved the way that came
We all
together.
knew the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you're
Well,
obviously in it.
But you know, with that kind of ending, it didn't build up to like what Alex, what you said about like the fantasy climactic type of ending. But for me, this type of ending, I think, fit the type of story this was supposed to be about. Like what Alan was just saying, this is about the characters and those three characters in particular, and how they transform, how they allow somebody from a different background to influence who they are. And so I just thought that was so, suddenly it all became so beautiful and perfect. And even though, like I said, during my reading experience, I wasn't gravitating towards the book at times just because the plot scheming part wasn't to my personal reading taste. I guess it just wasn't calling to me emotionally. At the same time, by the time I finished the book, I'm like, wow, I actually, every time I'd stop and talk about the book, I'm like, I learned a lot. I feel like I really learned a lot about this culture and about this time period. And there was something really special about that. So sorry, Tori. I want Tori to talk though.
No, that's okay.
Sorry, I'm not giving you a chance.
Yeah, well, I was gonna bring up the expectations that we all kind of have based on the oftentimes very formulaic fantasy, especially modern fantasy. By and large, follows this kind of they're very unique within the story, but you know what I'm trying to say. The formula of them is very much similar in a lot of ways.
A fantasy book could not end like Shogun did.
I think it couldn't, and that would be cool, honestly. Like what I liked about it,
I would like it,
is right. One of the things that I always, so yes, I'm a huge action, like military fantasy nerd, but what I have given low scorings to books that are military fantasy books, because when it's all focused on the action and the blood and the guts and all this stuff, and you take away that kind of intimate understanding of the characters and that emotional investment, I don't rate it highly, because you have to have that balance of both. And I think if at the end Clavell had suddenly pulled us back into this very suddenly vast, sweeping narrative of a battle, it would have felt out of place to the rest of the story, which is all so incredibly, zoned in on each of the small groups of characters. And I actually really liked that Ishido's death was kind of just like this little blurb at the end that was just like, oh yeah, by the way, we, buried him, and it was really gross and whatever. Yeah. Because the whole time Tornaga's been like, kind of dismissive mentally, and in how he talks about Ishido, like, oh, like he's just, this kind of stuff. And so it almost felt like at the end, it was just kind of dismissing him again as a character. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, he wasn't important enough for us to give him this whole big, chapter in the book at the end. So yeah, I liked both of those. I also, for me, what constitutes good historical fiction is when you have a book that you get to the end and you're just awed by a culture that is different than yours. Because even if I'm writing or reading Western European historical fiction, it's a different world than the one I live in now. So it's, all kind of the same in my book. And getting to the end and really wanting to know more, wanting to dig in further, to go out and find other books, to kind of cross-reference, to learn more about, are there historical documents about this? And Shogun definitely, like, far and away 5 stars for me, because it did what I wanted it to do. And I didn't find it that slow, to be honest, which surprised me.
I apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. So thank you for the apology. I was very upset with your TBR video. I was like, I liked it. No, I do. I really liked it. And it's a 5-star for me. And I will probably read it again at some point.
So
I was good.
I like, it's like no one regrets having read it. Like, even if it's too long.
Yeah, definitely not.
It's I don't know. It's its own thing. And Ishido was just executed. Ishido, the real Ishido was just beheaded. But there really was a samurai or a daimyo who was buried up to his neck and there was like a bamboo saw left who really
Oh my
did survive
gosh.
for 3 days. But it just
Wow.
wasn't Ishida. It's true story.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, two things. One, I think this will be really good on a reread just because I feel like so much of this book, I was trying to figure out who, with all the scheming going on, I was like trying to figure out who to pay attention to and all these conversations of all these big political players that were in this world. And I think on a reread, there will be some things that will obviously I will remember from this read, but also I just like won't. I'll be focusing on what I know is the most important part of the story a little bit more. And so it'll just only help me get more out of it. But I also wanted to say, like, Tori, I totally agree. After this book, I put off doing research for this book because I didn't want to spoil like big events in case there was going to be something that I didn't know. So when I finished the book, I literally was just like on a Wikipedia and YouTube deep dive into this entire time period. It was awesome.
Yep.
I loved it.
So one thing, and I keep shouting out his wonderful review, but our friend Josh from Red Fury Books, one thing that I really appreciated that he said, and I would assume this is probably also true about good historical fiction, is that you never get the sense that Clavell is favoring one culture over the other. Like you never get that sense that one culture is right and the other culture is wrong. It's like, it seems like he does a really good job as a narrator of being neutral in that sense. And I was talking about this to my mom because my parents are very Catholic. Like my dad was taught by Jesuits and and they love this book. And I said, well, this was not very kind towards Catholics, like the view of that. But then when I thought about it some more, I'm like, yeah, but, and actually this could be a question too. Mariko was Catholic. And she was kind of the hero of the story in a lot of ways. Like she was amazing.
Yeah.
And like her sacrifice.
The crew, and they are the worst characters in the whole book.
That's a good point.
Crew. Oh my gosh, I hate them so much.
Yep. He walked through the door and I was ready to be done. I was like, can we leave? No.
Yeah. Blackthorn was like beating them again. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I think it was beautiful that Blackthorn wanted to honor Mariko's her Catholic desire, or what is it I'm looking for? Like after she died, to be blessed in the Catholic way or whatever, to have that Catholic observation. And so in that way, it was like also another way in which you're seeing across those boundaries, seeing across those differences. So you see it between the Catholics and the Protestants, you see it between the Japanese and the Westerners, and you see it, you just see all these different perspectives crossing perspectives and learning from one another. And it just, for me, that was also the brilliance of how things came together in the end. Even though there were some bittersweet, sad moments to that, I thought it was so beautiful when you see the whole of it. So like what you said, Alex and Tori, like I think that on a reread, actually that made me relieved, honestly, because while I was reading it, like all the scheming and stuff and following this and that, I'm like, my brain is hurting. I don't think I could I don't know. I was just kind of feeling a little like head fatigued from that stuff. But then when I realized, oh, that's not what this is really about, I was like, yes, I love this story again. So it's kind of a weird experience.
Well, and I have a kind of a weird thought, not a weird thought, but a thought about why Sugihara wasn't the like climax of the story. To me, the war was won in a sense during the attack on the Browns and Tornaga's group in
either botched ninja raid.
Yeah, because that whole bit with, if you think about it, if you take Mariko out of that 4, 5, and 6, does Tornaga win?
No,
I don't think so.
Tornaga even says, like, he's like, Father, why did he let him? Like Naga's like, why did he let him go? He's like, he made a mistake. Like,
right?
He shouldn't have. I wouldn't have, but he made a mistake, and that allowed Tornaga to get the upper hand.
Yeah. So to me, that was like the action, quote unquote, climax of the story, because that's where it was won. It wasn't at the Battle of Sekigahara. It was before that ever happened.
So
that's a good point. Yeah.
And the Battle of Sugihara was actually really, really close. Tokugawa had bribed one of the other daimyos, Kobayakawa, and to like he had a unit of like rifles, like he had and he was on Ishida's side. And he was supposed to go over, like, come down and like flank Ishida, and it's like midday, and the dude hadn't done anything. And Tokugawa sent a messenger saying, "You need to pick now. Like, I don't care if you're coming after me, but you need to pick now, or else I'm gonna tell Ishida, and we're both gonna lose." And so he basically flanks Ishida with his rifles, and that's how Tornaga won. He was outnumbered. Like he would not have been able to win without defection. From Ishida's side, as we saw in Shogun, is like he needed to pull some of the daimyos away, and he pulls the Christian one, was Kiyama, away by offering Erasmus, like offering Blackthorn's ship, and he's like, dude, it was your life or your ship, and I picked your life, just like Mariko did. I picked your life. Like everyone kept choosing Blackthorn's life over these other things that he thinks are more important. So
I was kind of laughing to myself because I felt like Blackthorn was more. I felt like he mourned his ship even more than he did Mariko.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, his
ship didn't get the honorable death.
Sure.
That's interesting.
But like, I was gonna say his reaction to Mariko's death was a little bit
underwhelming,
more subtle than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it was interesting, huh?
Well, he was trying to honor her by mourning her the Japanese way instead of like pitching a fit like and being really loud like a foreigner. So he's trying to be Japanese about it.
Yeah,
I did her like the part in the raid where she actually died. I just kind of, because usually in those action scenes I just kind of skim through, but I definitely got choked up at her funeral section.
Literally, I've read it twice.
Really?
I remember she died. Literally didn't remember. Nope.
My goodness.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So
he's trying to honor her the Japanese way, guys.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, her funeral was definitely, for me, one of the most emotional parts of the entire book.
Yeah. How about when she's like, I think she's trying to leave Ishido, and they get attacked, and then she like tries to commit seppuku, and they like call it off the last second or something like that. That whole segment was so good.
Yeah, that was like, really tense.
Just hundreds of Browns being mowed down. And that's based on there was really a noblewoman who refused to leave her house like under attack. Like she refused to leave, and it was a big deal. Like Mariko's based on this woman who stood her ground and refused to like give in, and ended up committing seppuku, I think. But yeah, like the fact that whole plan, forcing Ishido's hand to like, she's the sacrificial lamb to get Ishido to let everybody else go, it's just so good. Like Mariko's commitment to, she finally get to go into the beyond.
Yeah. Wow. I think that is like kind of a pro of the writing style too in the third person omniscient, because you're not seeing that being planned necessarily, and so when it happens and it gets explained, it feels pretty natural. It doesn't feel like someone just pulled the like, wait, you just cheated the narrative or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not
like
really
made
the biggest
sense.
fan of that. Yeah, it worked in the story. It's good. And then Yabu's
oh yeah,
I'm looking at Yabu's crap right now. Like that scene with I'm trying to find the part where Yabu's just like, so sorry, I don't believe you. Hold on, where's
that sounds familiar, but I can't think of what you're talking about at the same time.
It's at the end when he's like, so he's like, here, Yabu, Yabu served me well here and at Osaka. Nah, Yabu-san? I always try to serve you loyally, sire. Yes. So please explain why you killed Captain Sumiori before the ninja attack, Tornaga said. Yabu's face did not change. He was wearing his Yoshimoto sword, his hand, as usual, loose on the hilt. Who says that? Who accuses me of that, sire? That man, please come here, Kasami-san. And then, he just explains it. And he's like, there's no proof. And Tornaga's like, no, there isn't any proof. He's like, but I didn't do that. He's like, okay, I don't believe you. So please commit. What is it? But I think you did. So all your lands are forfeit. Please slit your belly today before noon.
Yes. I remember that part. And doesn't he like ask to not have that happen again after that? And Tornaga's like, no, you're going to commit seppuku. And
Yeah,
like,
he said, let me go with honor and serve you,
Yeah.
and I can die in battle for you, or, he
I was
tries
just
to
like,
get out of it somehow.
Damn. That was like
it's
one
a
of
good
the
suggestion, Yabu-san, and I agree wholeheartedly. You're the best general for the musket regiment, but so sorry, I don't trust you. Please slit your belly by noon.
that was like one of the seppuku scenes in the book that was really hit me. I think I don't know, because it was talked about a lot, like not to make fun of it or anything, but it was talked about a lot in Shogun, like from the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
But I think that scene and Mariko's scene when she was like about to, when Blackthorn almost tried to commit it at the middle of the book or something like that, those were the ones that stand out to me of like, okay, it's not just, oh, I'm going to do it at the drop of a coin. Like, I'm just going to commit seppuku. It's like, there's a lot of weight behind it. Is like anything, it's death. So even though it's honorable, it's.
Yeah. And Yabu, the fact that Yabu didn't even flinch, like was able to just like, there's records like that. We have actual witnesses of people committing seppuku without flinching, like literally cutting their own,
What? That's wild. That's wild. It was interesting too, like how he says to Omi, he says, you were right to betray me to Tornaga. I'd have done the same if I had been you, though it's all lies. It's Tornaga's excuse. He's always been jealous of my battle prowess, understanding of the guns and the value of the ship. It's all my idea. So I don't know. It's just interesting how, I don't know. It just seemed like he just accepted it, and it didn't even seem like
we
he was.
see the one moment where he's like, I was so close.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then he just says, I rolled the dice and I came up lacking. Like, he gave it his best shot, and that's why, like, it's just this unique Japanese way of thinking. Yeah. It's different from us, where it's just like, I don't blame Omi. Like, Omi did the Japanese thing. Like, he did. This is the game we play.
Yeah.
Omi played it better than me. I was very close, and I freaking messed up. Like, I didn't get those freaking servants, and and he's like, well, I mean, and he spits out and screams because he's mad that he lost, but then he's like, okay, I get the best death that I really can get, like better than attacking Tornaga and being cut down by Hiramatsu. So.
I think it's interesting because I like a lot of Japanese culture. That's a lot is talked about karma and about the Buddhist practice of being very present, being in the now, and at the same time as that's a huge value in their spiritual beliefs. It feels like there was just everything they say and do. There's like a subtext in their head of thinking of the next step and thinking ahead and scheming ahead and always think about the consequences. So. Interesting.
What do you guys think of when like Blackthorn finally saw his crew, like we were talking about earlier? He finally sees his crew. He's like been waiting for this moment. And he realizes, wow, these guys are just like scumbags.
Nope.
Like, yeah.
Every
scene with them, I was just like, thank God.
I think it's like as the reader, because you're watching it happen, you're watching Blackthorn become more and more Anjin-san the whole time. But that was like a huge moment where you can see the contrast from who he was at the beginning of the book to when he walks through the door of that place that they're staying, and you can just see the difference of how much he's kind of acclimated into the culture that he's in now.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. And then when they see it, when they start to notice, you're not, like, they try to put him in his place and he won't let them.
Yeah, they're like, you're not better than us, freaking pilot. Like, you're one of those monkey Japanese, and it's just like, guys, shut up. And is it when Erasmus burns? Is that what causes the Dutch guy to just like have a heart attack, like just like have an aneurysm on the beach? what is it that causes that? You know, when he runs down into the beach and he just like screams and then he just falls down dead. You know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking
I thought
about
it was
Vinks?
I think that was
Yeah,
it.
Vink.
Was it that same?
I thought that was before.
I'm trying to
No,
figure out
was
what
it
causes
after?
something
Yeah.
causes that.
Not sure.
I'm trying to think of what it. I
Yeah.
don't remember because it all was at the very
I
end.
know. I have some notes up, but I don't see.
If you have the ebook, Joanna, search Vink.
I have it here. I have it where he dies.
What causes him? I don't remember.
I'm trying to think. Vink's whole body was trembling. It's your fault. You said to come to the Japans, and we come. And how many died here? You're to blame. Yes, sorry, but you're right.
Oh, here it
Sorry,
is.
are you, pilot? Didn't he kill it? Did he kill himself?
No, it was almost like he had like a heart attack or
Yeah,
something.
he has an aneurysm.
Oh, okay. Because I Blackthorn saw the pistol butt and would have been
It must
so
have been,
easy
like,
to smash
around
Vink to the ground and take the pistol, but he did nothing to defend himself. Vink waved the
Yeah, it
pistol
says-
in his face.
Okay.
Go
yeah.
Yeto, ship dead, finish, nah. So yeah, the ship got burned.
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's when they realize that they're not going home because Erasmus got burned and Vink just dies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I hate
Tori, I like what you said about the contrast being shown, because like as we were talking about in part 3, when we see really Blackthorn going through like the Japanese culture and learning about it and learning the language and everything, you know, from our point of view, we're like, he's still the same person in a lot of ways. He is like, he's learning how to everything about the Japanese culture, but he's still the same person. But once you see him go back to the people that he came with, you're like, wow, he's actually changed significantly more than he appeared
Yeah.
to have changed.
And
on
he's
the
only
surface.
he's able to do that because he's able to like get rid of his Western European arrogance, superiority that they are.
Yeah.
Because like look at his crew who doesn't even try. They don't even try to acclimate because they still are convinced that the Japanese are beneath them, and so it doesn't even occur to them to try to Japanify.
They'd rather
or
just
whatever.
stay, just stay
they-
prisoner or whatever.
They think that the dirty house, like the Untouchables house, is like good. Like they don't want to be in like where clean people stay. They like staying with the Untouchables because they're gross.
It's interesting with Blackthorn too, because I feel like his willingness to change in the beginning, I felt like the bath was kind of the first step. But when he had conceded to taking a bath, I felt like his motivations weren't in the right place. Like he was really thinking of like his imperialistic motivations there, how he could take advantage of the situation and make money and all that. And then later on, I feel like his falling in love with Mariko is what actually shifted him from a deeper internal place. Do you all agree with that?
Sure.
I would say Mariko
Yeah.
definitely played, like you were saying. I mean, she's kind of the hero of the story, and I think she is the reason a lot of things happened in this book.
Yeah, she's definitely
In the background or directly.
What does Blackthorn actually do? Like Blackthorn's just kind of
Learns
like
Japanese
our
language.
lens that we watch everything happen through. He's our Western lens, but
Yeah.
Blackthorn
Yeah.
doesn't do.
I was trying to figure that out too at a certain point. I'm like, what is he doing?
He's like not really the main. He's just the person that we relate to as the.
But how
reader in the
ridiculous would it
lens of
be if Clavell had made Blackthorn the action hero? Like Blackthorn, who's never trained in sword fighting, like all of a sudden starts mowing down samurai. Like he's gonna beat Yabu in a sword
Right.
fight. Like that's what fantasy teaches us is gonna happen, right?
Right.
Like, but
Yeah.
realistically, he's got his pistols, which he uses to great effect. But like other than that, like he can knife fight like a sailor on a ship, like close quarters knife fight. But otherwise, like he's not a
He'll be done.
warrior. He's not. He's a helmsman. So
Well,
he doesn't do anything.
I think that's why the authenticity of the book works so well, though, because it's not trying to, bring Blackthorn into this world and make him, like you said, the action hero. It's like there were so many times during this last part of the book where I was just like, Blackthorn, get out of the way, you're gonna die. Like, get out of the way, you're gonna die.
We're literally
Like, he's still, but I appreciated that he's still trying to do what he can, like in the, you know, the raid on the castle, where he is trying to protect Mariko and the other women that are there, but he's not the hero of the moment. Like, Mariko does as much as he does, and I'm trying to remember the other girl that was with them, that was Kiyama's granddaughter-in-law or something like that. Like, he's just there with the group. It's not like he's the, you know, the focus of it.
Yeah, and how he won't let Buntaro kill Blackthorn, because, like, dude, like, Blackthorn stopped you and all of us from suffering incredible dishonor. Because if Mariko and all these other women had been captured, like, we would have, like, one, we'd be dead. So we're gonna die. Mm-hmm. Two, like, she got to die, you know, through an honorable way of her choosing, rather than being taken captured and used as leverage against us. Mm-hmm. He saved you from dishonor, dude. Shut up. Like, no, you can't have.
I think that was probably why Buntaro was angry, because, you know, he didn't have a reason, technically speaking, to hate Blackthorn, and he wanted one.
Yeah, that whole scene where Tornaga says, "Hey, guess what? You've been divorced this whole time, so you cheated on you. So I'm gonna need you to get a grip, bud."
Yep.
I was confused by that, but were they divorced? Because, I mean, she refused him, right?
No, but Tornaga considered it.
Promised that if they did it, they would be.
Yeah,
so he was lying in that point.
Correct. Yeah. But he says, like, he's not really lying. He's just kind of he's just moving things around temporally.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, it keeps Buntaro from going off the edge, which, by the way, Buntaro actually is the one done most dirty by this book, because Lady Gracia's actual husband was like a hero. Like, he was not terrible like Buntaro is. Like, he was like an extremely popular, like, warrior hero in Japan. And he, as far as we know, was not unkind to his wife. So Buntaro,
I guess it makes the adultery, but him being such a jerk and abusive makes the adultery much more tolerable. It's like, yes, so we're totally rooting for Mariko and Blackthorn.
Yeah,
for sure. And in real life, Blackthorn did not, like, Lady Gracia. Like, he married a Japanese person, but it wasn't like, these are temporally, like, separate things. The Mariko stand-in and or the analogy, whatever, and William, whatever his name was, William Adams, the actual sailor.
Sarah had a good question. That was a part with Kiki.
Oh yeah.
Or Kiku? Is it Kiku or Kiki? Kiku.
That was his consort woman?
Yeah, that was his consort.
Yeah.
That's right. She does want to die. What if she end up doing it? Does she
forgot about that.
Does Kyoko say you should keep it? Does she end up saying you should keep it?
No, Kyoko makes her not keep it.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Oh, that's right. Because
they didn't know it was either Hanjin-san's, Omi's, or Toranaga's, and they had no way of knowing.
Yeah, so they're like, we're getting rid of it, and then you sleep with Anjin-san, and you have a real Anjin-san baby that we know. So we know who it is.
Or Toranaga's. Yeah.
Wasn't she happy about that too? Like, it seemed like she was happy with whatever, or maybe she wasn't. I don't know. Sometimes
she was. I know there's a part where I think Kyoko was upset with Kiku because she was upset. Like, there's a little bit in there.
Kyoko makes her get rid of the first baby because Kyoko really wanted to keep it. And then afterwards, she freaks out. She's like, "What? But the Anjin-san," and she's like, "Shut up! The freaking Anjin-san has so much favor. Like, you're gonna have his babies, and you know, you're happy that you have the freaking Anjin-san baby."
I think one thing that Blackthorn does bring to the story, kind of as we were talking about that, is he was definitely kind of an agent of chaos within this incredibly strictly ordered culture and expectations, because there's so many points where, like, he throws the Jesuits off, he throws Ishido off, there's a whole Yabu and Omi are like I think it threw enough of a kind of shook up the barrel enough that things maybe kind of either fell slightly differently than they would have or something, because I mean, people were definitely changing how they were approaching problems or certain events because of him.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Which makes him a more reactive. Like, it wasn't like he was doing anything particular.
Oh,
It
100%.
was just,
But I mean, what agency does he have? Like,
right.
he is
Yeah.
you know, caught up in this. He's a piece to be moved by he's a falcon to be unleashed by Tornaga. Like, I love Tornaga's comparing all of these people to, you know, these hunting falcons. And I literally just went on a competition with my kids, and we went to Medieval Times the first night. And at Medieval Times, I forgot, they have a falconer, and they release the falcon, and it flies around, like, and then returns to the hand. And I was like, dang, like I was just thinking about Shogun, because, you know, he's got Buntaro and Blackthorn that are just these, you know, savage falcons. And then, you know, Mariko is the peregrine, like the female, like that's his like masterpiece falcon that, you know, is way better than the other two brutes.
The blunt force.
Yeah.
She was a large part of what tamed him too. So he's like the force of chaos, and she seemed to be the one to get him to calm down. That's such a good point, though. I like that.
When you pointed out the Falcon comparisons during the last stream, during the last parts 4, 5, and 6, I was just like, wow, he's like really compares them to Falcons like significantly throughout the book. Like, and then the whole last section where he's reminiscing and kind of confessing up to you about everything that happened, he keeps calling them Falcons too. I'm just like, he has this whole
it's like he doesn't have the capacity to think of people as people. Like, they are his tools to get him where he needs to go.
Yep.
Oh, Tornaga.
I think too, Blackthorn exposes Tornaga's humanity, because like at the end, you know, like you said, he's just here's my pieces and my pawns on this board. But at the end, who's the one that Tornaga says, I need a friend and this is my friend, you know? So I think,
so good.
Yeah. So I think Blackthorn also
best line in the book,
right? It kind of pulls us out of, Tornaga's this like inhuman, you know, figurehead, into he's also a man who wants to have the reassurance of a friend that he can trust. So
yeah. I mean, and that's shown early on, even with the dance, the hornpipe. Yeah.
Or when they go swimming.
Yes, when they go diving. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Because Tornaga doesn't really like have fun with anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really strange the way he's such a chess player with everybody.
Yeah.
Everyone is his pawn. Even with what he does with, is it Kiku? I'm trying to remember the names now. It's been a while. The beautiful one.
Yes.
Yeah. And how he doesn't let her be with, is it Omi? Was that the pairing?
Yeah.
And they both have to accept it. And they both do accept it. I guess it's like the karma thing, but it's, I don't know, it's also kind of heartbreaking.
I'm still not convinced that Kiku actually loved Omi. Like, I know, we obviously know that Omi was obsessed with her, but I never got the sense that it was completely mutual.
Yeah. Could be the case. Yeah.
Like she wanted more throughout the entire.
So maybe Tornaga was saving her from
could be. Yeah.
You never know.
Could be.
The fact that, like, I forgot about this part. The fact that as far back as when the rudders were stolen was Tornaga's doing. Like, you know, he blamed Rodrigo and the Jesuits, but it was freaking Tornaga. Like, all the way back then, Tornaga was playing.
He was just, that was the crazy thing about reading this story. Is like, and I mentioned this a little bit in my wrap up, but I couldn't say names because of spoilers. But it's like, you have the omniscient narration, and so this isn't the kind of story where you as a reader have to read that much between the lines. I guess we did just have an example of maybe a little bit with Kiku here and there, but for the most part, the narrator gives you all of the inner thoughts and feelings of the characters. But the one exception to that is with Tornaga, because he'll just keep you guessing, like suddenly a new reveal of where his motivations was. I was always guessing with him, and I was always like, what? And I feel like, especially in the last section of the book, it just kept happening every single page. Like there was just a new, like I could never figure him out.
I found the part with Kiku where she's like, I have to be the consort of the barbarian. And then Gyoko's like, yeah, but your sons will be samurai and get 1,000 koku a month. And she's like, wait, I'm sorry, what? And,
okay.
And then she's very excited.
And she's happy. Okay, yeah. That's right.
So this paragraph again. So sorry, but so necessary, Anjin-san. I saved your life, which you wanted, even above your ship. 50 times or more I've had to consider giving your life away, but so far I've always managed to avoid it. I hope to continue to do that. Why? This is a day for truth, nah? The answer is because you make me laugh and I need a friend. I daren't make friends among my own people or among the Portuguese. Yes, I will whisper it down a well at noon, but only when I'm certain I'm alone, that I need one friend. And also your knowledge. Mariko-sama was right again. Before you go, I want to know everything you know. I told you we both had plenty of time, you and I. So good. So good.
I'm too sentimental. It just does me in. It does me in. It's so beautiful.
Because if he tells anybody, well, then all of a sudden Anjin-san is a liability. So, you know, he has to be like, I don't care. But secretly I care. It's so good. It's just so good.
I think it's beautiful, too, that Tornaga is open to learning, too. That was something that...
Yeah.
Also, I mean, he's not above that.
No, he definitely wants to know everything he can about the world that he lives in.
He's curious.
Yeah. And then Tornaga immediately goes back on everything he promised. He expels the Christians, except for like that one. They talk about it a little bit. Like they keep him in that one place in Nagasaki. Like they have to like have like special papers to come aboard. And they're not allowed to go anywhere else other than this one port. Boots them all out. And Japan is closed. Japan is more closed for 250 years than it was the 100 years prior. And it doesn't open again until America shows up with its black ships that have cannons and force the Tokugawa heir to open its borders again. So it's not until the 1550s that the Meiji Restoration happens, and it's because Americans show up. Matthew Perry, not Chandler. Like, could this be any more closed? No, it's like a captain shows up and like blasts, like bombards the shore with their cannons. And Japan's like, whoa, we don't have any of that. So there's your history lesson for today.
Thank you.
It's like the Tokugawa shogunate rules for 250 years. So it's pretty impressive.
Sarah had another question for us.
I don't think Toro wins without Anjin-san. I don't think he can sway the Christian daimyos. I think Tornaga's loss is inevitable until Blackthorn shows up. I don't think he can win otherwise.
Because Blackthorn also gives him a lot of military knowledge in terms of the, the rifles and all of that kind of stuff. So it kind of also boosts the men that Tornaga does have.
That's true.
But I still think Mariko is the bigger piece to that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
He was Ishido had him trapped. Like he had him checkmated, and then he screws up and lets Mariko commit suicide like an idiot.
It was funny though, because I would say in the middle part of the book, Mariko was my favorite in the first section. Then in the second section, when it was all it was more about her and Blackthorn's romance.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I need to pick somebody else for a favorite. And then we got to the last half, and I was like, and she's my favorite again. Yeah.
She's an incredible character.
And I was really appreciative, because something that drives me absolutely bonkers in fantasy, in any kind of literature I read, is when you have a really cool, female character who then falls in love and then becomes the most boring, pointless character in the entire story. And I was really afraid that that's what was going to happen with Mariko. And I was like, oh, well, now she's taught Blackthorn how to be Japanese, and then she's going to be like,
Just
and
there.
I was, yeah. And in part 3, I was so nervous about that. And so I absolutely loved, and that's why the 5-star came back in the last part, because I was really glad that was the end of her story arc.
Yeah.
She was absolutely fabulous.
She was
fabulous
amazing.
as a character. Yeah.
Like,
Just
what-
so intelligent, so strategic. I think if there was any character who was maybe on the same level as Tornaga, it was Mariko. Like
Definitely.
she was so,
And I think he knew that.
He did. Yeah. He was smart enough. I love that about Tornaga too, is that he was, not too proud in that sense too. He was, again,
remember,
shows his
Mariko
openness to
figured out on her own that Tornaga was bluffing with the Crimson Sky.
Yeah.
So she's like, hang on a second. The only way he'd be acting like this is if this were going on. Like, this doesn't suit Tornaga at all. Tornaga had to tell Hiramatsu, stupid old man.
Yeah. She was always figuring it out.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
Yeah. Well, and I think you see that in the conversations that Tornaga has, because when he brings the other generals he kind of, whenever he asks them questions, you can tell that he's either trying to throw them off of something, or he's trying to, figure something out about them. But when he calls Mariko in, he's actually legitimately asking her thoughts on things. Like, you don't see that with really any of the other characters. I mean, Blackthorn a little bit, but Mariko, you could tell he was like, she wasn't just the agent that he was putting out there. He used her as counsel quite a lot.
Yeah, I felt like he was testing her a little bit, like when he asked her if she wanted to divorce Buntaro. Yeah, I felt like he was a little bit like calculating with her, but he has this line at some point in the book where he says something about how important it is to know your friends and know your enemies, and he makes a study of everybody. So it's like every encounter that Tornaga has, there's something going on in his mind. And it's, I guess, just those little moments with Blackthorn where he gets past that a little bit, like we said.
I think that's what I'm most excited about on a reread, is just to like go back through the scenes between those 3. Like part 2, I think part 3.
At your own pace instead of having to wait 3 months.
Yeah, I mean that too. But like that, I mean, I was gonna bring that up because when we were talking about the scheming and how we were like, when I didn't know what to pay attention to or what to overly focus on it or not. I think by breaking it up, when I started getting back into the book during whichever month we were reading it in, I'd be like, who is that person again? And I feel like on a reread, if I was just reading it straight through, I wouldn't run into that as much. And I would know, like, okay, these are the real focus of the story, and just, for sure, everything else.
I did love the little details, though, about culture. Like, for example, there was one part, and I know I highlighted it, I should probably go and find it again, where they were talking about how important rice is to their culture, like paper and all types of different things that I had never even considered. Wine.
Paper, wine, food, like everything.
Everything. And of course, how important the silk was for them, for the Chinese silk. So yeah, I love those little details too. And so it's like just learning little things like that.
Yeah, I learned a lot in this book for sure.
Yeah.
That's what the the professor of California is just like there's basically nothing in Japanese culture that this does not touch on if you want to know about it. Like historical Japanese culture. Like it touches on basically everything. And so let me ask you this, guys, because this professor who wrote, had collected all these essays about Shogun and now teaches it in his class, like references Shogun in his Asian studies class. He quit reading it after the first 100 pages because of how barbaric the Japanese are portrayed. And he had to have a student be like, no, Mr. Professor, just keep reading it. And then he's like, yeah, I was super wrong. And we saw this a lot. A lot of people DNF'd in the first 200 pages for various reasons. And it does show that the Japanese are barbaric, but we're looking at the Japanese through the eyes of Blackthorn and, these superior feeling Westerners. Like we're seeing it through their eyes. Like, so it does appear extremely that doesn't mean it's the truth. It's just that's the lens with which we're viewing them. And we see that shift where now we start looking at the Japanese through like Blackthorn's changed perspective. And like samurai it was their prerogative to kill peasants. Like they could kill, like Omi does in that first scene. Like, you know, they're allowed to do that, but they had to have a reason. Like you had to have a really good reason to they didn't just kill peasants because they felt like it. You know what I mean? Like you had to literally back it up. It was almost easier to kill a freaking daimyo than it was to kill a peasant. So you really had to back it up. So it just appears to Blackthorn that they just kill, you know, on a will and want
to. Off context.
Yeah, because you can't do that in England. You can't just shoot a peasant in the street. Like, you know, freaking Queen Victoria. Well, that's later. Whoever the queen is, Queen Elizabeth I, whatever. You can't just shoot some. She can't just shoot a dude in the street and it's like, oh, okay, that's fine. Like you can't do that in England. And so yeah. I just thought it was cool that, you know, realized that. But
that's a really good point, especially because a lot of people did DNF it early on. Because it really does. It's like such a subtle, I think it's so, and that's probably the value of it being so long, is that it does give you a subtle shift over time and you don't realize you're changing along with the book. You don't realize how much you're immersed or how much you're learning. And by the end, you're like, whoa, I had a shift with these characters.
Sure.
I was going to say, a lot of the reviews that I saw on Goodreads are like people I don't know, but are just on that Shogun page. If they say like, oh, I DNF 300 pages in, most of the complaints are the same, that same exact thing. They're just like, oh, I don't like how the Japanese were portrayed. It's just like, yes, but
yeah,
I agree. The lens of what that first two parts are being told through is very different than how parts 4, 5, and 6 are told.
Correct. Through. Yeah.
But I think it's kind of brilliant in terms of how the book is written, because it's kind of the frog in the frying pan kind of mentality where I don't think we as the reader even realize how much it has shifted until Blackthorn goes back to the other crew. And we are suddenly coming face to face with the changes that have happened and how that worldview has changed.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know, but at the same time, I actually did see Blackthorn in a negative way when I started the book. And I saw his...
Oh, yeah, I did too.
Yeah, me too. I was like, oh, I hate this guy. I forgot I hated this guy.
Yeah.
I didn't like him really.
So that's another thing you forget. Until
I didn't really like anybody for a while.
I hated that guy at the beginning.
Yeah.
Until like the dancing scenes. I was like, what is this?
Yep,
Who is this guy?
Yeah. I think also the scene where he's in the prison for like I think it's like a basement prison with the
old Spanish friar.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
That scene also, I felt like I suddenly saw a softer side of Blackthorn.
For sure.
Yeah, it's there. He is not. That crew is not likable to start with, and neither are the Japanese. Like you got Yabu and Omi. Like,
which of all the people to meet right away.
I know. And Yabu and Omi.
I feel like Omi isn't as bad when you separate him from Yabu. Like he has some like times where I was like, okay, this is cool. But when the two of them together, like I can't ever separate the two of them in my head because that's how we meet them and they're always together and you're always wondering when one of them is going to turn on the other one. And so
I can't separate them. I can't separate Omi from the fact that he cuts off a guy's head just out of nowhere and then pees on Blackthorn's back.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And you know, that's what Yabu and Omi can never understand the whole book. Like, how does that dude keep living? Like, how does he live with the shame of you peeing on his back? And it's just like, well, they're weird.
Take a shower.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did y'all, I agree. I completely agree.
I agree too.
What did y'all think of the scene at the end? Speaking of Tornaga knowing everybody, when he's like, okay, so I'm going to let the Anjin son go confront Father Alvido, who he thinks burned his ship. What do you think's going to happen? And Naga's like, oh, he's gonna kill him. I'd kill him. He's definitely
Naga.
gonna kill him. Naga's so stupid. So stupid.
He's endearing in a very like
In a very like
derpy way.
head. He's like, oh, can I fight it? Can I fight it? Oh, let me fight it. Oh, I get to fight it. Yes. No, I don't want to be Christian. You will be Christian because I told you to. Okay. So dumb.
He's kind of like Mikey from TMNT a little bit.
Yes. He's just a dumb, like Tornaga. But I just love that and then Tornaga's like, oh crap, I actually need Alvido. Like, is Blackthorn gonna kill Alvido? And because he says that he lets himself. He releases control for that minute because Tornaga had such tight control over everything, and then he's like, I changed my mind. I want to watch this. I want to watch the fireworks. And and it's what is it, Sudara that predicts like, I do not think he'll kill him or whatever. Is it Sudara that has the more measured?
I think so.
Measured answer where Naga's like, oh, I'd kill him. He's gonna kill him. He's definitely gonna kill him. I just love that part where they're watching because we don't even hear what happens. We don't even hear what's said. We just hope that Blackthorn doesn't shank freaking Father Alvido right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and that goes back to the idea of Blackthorn being kind of an agent of chaos, is that Tornaga was like, I don't actually know.
Let's just unleash him and find out.
Yeah.
Anybody's guess.
Oh yeah, I think Sudara's like, he won't kill him because you told him that you didn't want him to kill him. Like, and he does. And it's at that moment that Tornaga realizes that he has broken Blackthorn to the hand. Like, he owns Blackthorn because he merely suggested he would prefer Alvido remain alive, and Blackthorn didn't do what he really wanted to do, which was kill Alvido. And that's when he knows, like, cool, got him. So it's just so good.
I'm trying to remember, Sarah. I don't know. I'm sure
That's
they did.
At the very end. That is
yeah.
Where he's like, hey, so I don't like, it wasn't me, but I am like, I praise God every day that it did happen.
Right.
But it looks like
something he wished he could have done.
Yeah. He's like, we're going to be stuck here for a while, and eventually you're going to replace me. Like, I know you're going to replace me as translator. Like, I know that's what he's doing. So we should probably try to make they call like a truce, like an armistice, if you will. And that's when they shake hands. Just, to be like, what if we just didn't openly war against each other, And I really like that kind of like temporary peace that him and Alvido kind of come to, even though he still hates the Jesuits. And Mariko is the broker of that peace too, because it's because of freaking Mariko.
Yeah. Well, I love that.
So good. Like, Mariko's bringing peace all around.
Exactly. No, exactly.
Book should have been called Mark.
Right.
That was what saved that was what saved my like I said, because otherwise I would have felt like this book was really, really heavily negative towards the Catholics. But I think Mariko saved that.
Yeah. Like, her death accomplished so much more than she was able to accomplish in her life, like as a woman, basically. But like, her death and her sacrifice and her commitment to her honor and to her liege lord really like was the catalyst for all of this. Like, it's just it's so
there was a moment where I did question her Catholicism, though. I don't know, at the end, like, oh, is this an act? I can't remember what got me to question that, though. Did anybody else have that thought?
No, I think it's just more of the I am Japanese first. Tornaga is my first liege. It's the whole like, I'm both, but first I'm Japanese.
Oh, it's because she makes that deal with them, right? To save Blackthorn and sacrifice the ship. But didn't Tornaga already do that? Or did I misunderstand that?
No, she did it as an agent of Tornaga. Tornaga sent her. When I'm so mad when she freaking rats out the plan to the Catholics. But then we find out at the end that Tornaga told her to rat it up. That's
what I mean. Yes. He used her. I'm sorry. That's where I'm going with this. This is what my thought process was. If Tornaga used her as an agent, then she was in some ways kind of deceiving the Catholics by pretending it was her
Because she's
idea.
Japanese first, and her loyalty is first to Tornaga.
But so I know she's Japanese first, but it kind of made me wonder, well, is the Catholic thing even, is that real for her? Like,
I think it is. I think it is.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just not.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it going either way in my head, like at one point.
Yeah. I think
At the end, I decided she was definitely Catholic. But there was a moment there where I was like, maybe it was part of Tornaga's plan all along that she pretend to be Catholic.
Oh, well, then
like I thought that.
Put it past him.
Yeah.
He's been making the play for decades.
Yes, it's possible, right? It's possible.
It is.
I think you could still read it that way.
That's true. That's true. But I mean, she has a Catholic burial. Like she wouldn't need it.
That's
She
true.
didn't really
That
need
was
it.
the one thing that made me kind of let that go because of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was. I mean, that's. Yeah, man. Yeah, I didn't forgot, like, Tornaga playing the long game. They just
Yeah. Well, I was like, I wouldn't put it past Tornaga.
That's true. That's true. I don't think Tornaga knew how important Mariko was going to end up being. I think
in the beginning,
she's not really. She was just like taught by the Jesuits. Like that's really all she is at the beginning. Is she's a noblewoman. She's a daimyo's wife who is living in disgrace because of her dad executing.
That was the other reason, though. Because there was another part. Sorry, it's all coming back to me now. There was like this other part where there was something in the story about how that event, she should have been bitter towards the Catholics, I thought, based on her past.
Oh,
so
yeah. So the dictator, Garoda hated the Catholics. Like he hated the Catholics. So her dad's liege lord that he betrayed hated the Catholics. But they didn't have anything to do with her dad dying. Her dad just lost, like he killed Garoda and then survived for 13 days until he was mowed down by the Taiko's troops. 2 weeks later. So
yeah, there were just some things I'm like, it doesn't always add up for me why she's Catholic. So I guess there's part of me that still questions it a little bit. But I did ultimately decide to let it go because of the Catholic burial thing. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to bury it.
David had a thing too about believing the Jesuits are kind of being, because she's not taught about Protestantism. She's only taught about Catholicism. Like she's not taught about Christianity. She's just taught about Catholicism. So, and she also sees that, like Brother David or whatever his Japanese name is, the fact that the Jesuits refused.
Joseph.
Joseph. Thank you. The Jesuits refused to make any of these people priests or fathers or whatever. And like, you got to learn, even though they went and saw the freaking Pope, and they still can't be priests.
His death was another one that really made me sad. Like later on when he,
does he die during the ninja attack? I think so.
Right? I think so.
Or does he die when she's trying to leave?
I think it's that part.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's in one of those. Yeah.
When she's trying to leave.
That scene's intense. Yeah, does. It definitely does. Like she undoes the dishonor of her dad.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. I love her character.
Come on, man. Now you're making me think about Tornaga.
I know. It's crazy.
You got to read it again now.
You
got to read it again.
If you read it again with that in mind, it's just kind of weird. But no, I think that's true though, that he didn't realize at first how she would play that role. Because I think he even says at one point, like when he finds out, for example, that she and Blackthorn end up having feelings for each other, he's like, oh, her and the Anjin-san, huh? Interesting. Like he has that thought in his head.
Yeah, how can I use this?
Yeah, that's probably what it was.
Tornaga, man.
Nothing goes to waste.
No.
And that kind of goes with him being very economical and not wasting
He's so
money.
cheap. I love how cheap he is.
Yeah. Nothing wasted. Nothing wasted. Yeah.
I love the back and forth between him and Kyoko all the time where like she's trying to get this money out of him and he keeps figuring out ways to kind of either he or Mariko somehow like underhands it.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
wild.
we didn't talk about the beginning section of 4, 5, and 6, where everyone mistrusts Tornaga and is like, this dude is not. Like, and he's acting all like mad and losing his temper, and people are like, what is going on?
They think he's really losing it. They
Yeah.
really think he's losing
Yep.
faith. Yeah.
Seriously. And then, he's like, I don't have time for your stupid rumors, even though like Gyoko-san like saves him with that info. He's like, oh my gosh, this freaking old lady just saved my bacon. And, but it's like, samurai, no. Over information like that, no. But then at the end, he's like, hey, samurai. How about samurai kids? And she's like, I love that he has to nickel and dime back and forth with Gyoko-sama. But like, the women repeatedly save Tornaga. Seriously.
Wow,
Like,
that's true.
It's
Mhm.
the
Well, even Kiritsubo too in the beginning, and
That's what I said,
Sasuke,
yeah.
like his wives or consorts, like they're also major MVPs.
Yeah, Gyoko-sama, and then Mariko, and then the other women who are there who swear that, hey, by the way, it was freaking Ishido attacked us. I swear it was. I'm about to die, and I swear this on my death that it was totally Ishido. And then Ishido's like, it must have been Tornaga trying to like pin it on me. And everyone in the council's like, it was freaking idiot. And the thing is that no one is mad that Ishido did it. They're angry that he botched it. No one cares that he tried it. They're mad that it didn't succeed. They're like, he's freaking idiot, like messed everything up. He's just a bumbler. Like Ishido's so stupid. And the whole council's pissed at him because now, because they all know that he did it, even though he's like, what could have happened? Anybody could have hired these ninja. Tornaga has one ninja, and the dude.
Yeah, one ninja.
And it sets Erasmus on fire. That's the only ninja.
That's crazy. That was crazy. I was so mind blown that it was him.
I was so mad.
Yeah, it was awesome.
When I read this book the first time, I was so angry. I was like,
You were. I bet.
I was like, are you kidding me, Tornaga? Are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me?
Aww.
It wasn't until my second read through that I ended up liking Tornaga. Like that act vilified Tornaga for me. He was like the big bad for me at the first time I read it. And then I read it again. I'm like,
What's funny about that is when we found out that the ship burned down and they were all mad because, Blackthorn thinks it's the Jesuits right away. And I think it's probably because I don't know what it says about me that my brain immediately went there, but I was like, it'd be really funny if it was actually Tornaga.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's the writer in
Because
you.
I'm like,
Really thinking that way.
Tornaga does not want him to leave. Like, he's not going to let him leave. Like, if he thinks he's actually going to leave Japan, he's nuts.
Yeah.
I did never think that. I was like, there's no way he's going to let him leave. I mean,
Yeah,
that was the
yeah.
one
There's
thing.
no
I never
way.
put it together with like all the other things that were going on, but I was like, he's up to something because there's no way he's going to let Black.
As long as he can use him, he's never going to let him
Right.
leave.
Yeah.
But then the end. Oh,
But
it's just
also
so
that's
good.
his
It's so
friend.
good. I know it's fun. And he makes him laugh.
and remember how Tornaga even has Mariko sell it in her suicide note, saying, I'm sorry, your ship burned because I gave them the info. It was my fault. And he's just like he's so dead. Like Blackthorn is just kind of dead after this. He's just like,
Aww.
Mm-hmm.
and then he reads that and he's like, and he still can't be mad at Mariko, but he's just like, she freaking got my ship burned. And like Tornaga even planned that so that he'd think it was, so that suspicion wouldn't fall on him.
I know. That was the crazy thing. Like Tornaga even got her to write that suicide note. Like, that's crazy.
Crazy.
That's wild.
I was going to say,
Thank you.
PL, this is a very character-driven.
Mm-hmm.
It's excellent. It's excellent.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's the
very
beauty
good.
of it.
Now I never thought. I thought Tornaga was a good guy. I was going to let him go.
I'm a
And-
Slytherin, Alan.
I
That's
read the book,
immediately
and I
where
was
my
like-
brain went. I was
You're
like,
Slytherin? Yay!
oh, yeah.
I
Big
was
time.
I'm sure I would be. Yeah. So with Taipan, this next book, it has nothing to do with this story, right? Or is it?
No.
No, it's like
No.
hundreds of 200 years?
It is
200 years? Okay.
years after.
Okay, cool.
It is after the Opium War, at least the first Opium War, where the British have ceded Hong Kong by China. And it was actually, Taipan was actually the second book written. It was written before Shogun, even though Shogun takes place historically previous. Now, Gaijin, which was the last book written, but is after, it takes place in like basically Meiji Japan. So the 1800s, at the end of the Tokugawa. It has descendants from Blackthorn and Tornaga.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
so it's more of a love story. Like it is a love story, and it's really long. A lot of people don't like Gaijin. I like it because it's freaking Japan. Like I liked it. I've only read it once, but I do remember it being good. It's just not Shogun good. It's not Shogun and Taipan good, but it is good.
Yeah.
And then Noble House is trading houses. It is like basically kind of it's a continuation of the main trading house called Noble House in Taipan. So we do see continuations. Like there are, like knowing what happens before is helpful down the line. I've only read those three. I never actually I never finished Noble House. I think I started and something happened. So I've only read Shogun, Taipan, and Gaijin.
King Rat sounds really intriguing to me.
Yeah, is that the
like
World War II?
That's his first one written. That's
why I was like, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Because I had read last year. I read Graham Salisbury's middle grade. It's pretty heavy for a middle grade. Hunt for the Bamboo Rat, and it's kind of that same idea. And so when I saw that King Rat was kind of set in that same time period with a similar idea to that one, I'm very excited to read that.
Yeah. King Rat's pretty short too. I think it's like 300 pages or something.
He basically just wrote down his experience as in a Japanese POW camp. That's what King Rat is.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm really interested in that.
$4.80 in mass market paperback.
Nice. And a lot of people like ask him, like in the interview I read, they're like, dude, how were you able to write Shogun with having been a Japanese prisoner of war? And he's like the reason I wrote Shogun is because I was interested in exploring those people that I freaking hated when I was a freaking captive. Like I poured out King Rat, like which was, basically just my autobiography of being in the camp. And then I decided, well, what if I got into like the heads of the Japanese and just went back? And that's where Shogun came from.
Wow. That's just amazing. That's
It's
just amazing.
It's mind blowing. Like he did it as kind of a catharsis for, like who are these people that kept me prisoner for however long I was prisoner? So, but yeah, I want to read all those as well. I hear Whirlwind is very boring.
That's like the most
it's the one in the 70s,
recent one chronologically. Yeah.
I have not read it, but I never heard anybody say anything good about Whirlwind. People talk good about Noble House and King Rat, but never about Whirlwind.
It's true, Sarah.
True.
True.
Yep.
So we should definitely set a time soon before we forget to watch the miniseries.
I'd love to. Yeah.
Let's do it.
I think it's 8 episodes. I
just check. I was gonna buy the. It's not. I couldn't find it streaming anywhere, so I was just gonna buy the.
I have the DVD.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
On Amazon.
I can stream it. I can stream it from my television. I can hook up my. I think I can stream
StreamYards.
I think. Hold on. Yeah, I can, because I can stream it from my PS5. Like I can play it from my PS5 and stream it. I know I can stream from my PS5.
Cool.
And then we can just get together and watch it. I'm trying to see how many episodes it is. Hold on, I'm clicking on it right now.
Who's the guy who plays Blackthorn?
What is it? What is that guy name? I don't bloody know what his name is. All of these are bootlegs. There's no actual information about the dang thing.
Richard Chamberlain.
There you go, Richard Chamberlain. Richard Chamberlain, Toshiro Mifune, who's awesome. I don't know how many episodes it is. Where are the episodes? Anyway, we should set that. We should
Five-
set that.
it's
that so
5 episodes.
only 5 episodes on 3 DVDs.
Is this the one? Yeah, this is it. Yep. Each
Wow.
episode.
Are they long?
You're right.
Okay, well,
it
the
is
episodes are really long.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
the,
5
the
episodes.
premiere and the finale are both 3 hours
Oh
long.
my gosh, you guys,
Episodes
John.
2 to 4 are 2 to 4 are 2 hours long. Yeah, they're like 2 to 3 hours long each episode.
Oh, so each one's a movie. So it's 5 movies.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Maybe we
Um,
could break up those two.
John Rhys Davies plays Rodriguez.
Yes.
I don't-
Is he really?
Isn't that
Yeah.
Gimli?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's Rodriguez.
that's awesome.
It's got to be good. Like I've never watched it. I've owned it for
I've
freaking
never seen
15
it.
years and never watched the bloody thing. So we should definitely watch it. And we can break it up. We can just watch it like, an hour and like half of an episode at a time. And just
That'd be
like,
great.
hey,
We'll be
let's-
watching
Yeah.
it till 2025.
Would love
That'd
to.
be great.
Yeah.
whatever.
That's fine with me.
Soak it in.
So are you guys splitting up Taipan between April and May?
Yeah. So me and Josh are reading it. The first half, which is basically 320 pages, in April, and then the other like 380 pages in because it's like 700 pages, and I just don't have time.
Yeah.
So read that in May.
Well, I'm very happy that you're breaking it up.
Are you gonna read it? You reading Taipan with us?
I want to, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking
so
about it.
be-
Depends.
Because Alex and I are both doing the Keymark readathon this month,
Yeah.
and so that's all science fiction fantasy. So if I can get all of my books done for that, then I want to jump into Taipan.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
am
that's
eager
where I'm
to
at.
reread Taipan and see if it's just as good. It is different than Shogun. It's very different than Shogun. It is, but it is. I just remember it being so good. Just being like, how are these guys gonna are these guys gonna how deep does their want of trade go? Are they gonna murder each other? Really? They're gonna murder each other over like trade? And these guys are opium smugglers. Like, why am I rooting for drug runners? But it's just
Interesting.
good. It's just
Is that
good.
also third person omniscient, or do you know, or is it written differently?
I don't remember. I want to say it's third person limited from Dirk Struen's point of view, but I don't think so because I don't know. It's in the other room where I'd look at it, so probably not. It's probably third person omniscient,
Yeah,
or not. Maybe it's
I'd be
limited.
curious. I liked that the third person omniscient of Shogun.
I
It was
do
very
too.
different from anything
I
else.
I want all my books to be written in that now, so I can like know what's going on. But this is, guys, I'm so glad y'all read this. Like, this has been so fun
Yeah.
being able to talk about this freaking book with people. Like, no one's read Shogun. Like, no one I know in real life. Like, I'm like, you're Shogun? Like, no. I'm like, oh, well, okay. And then on BookTube, you read Shogun? No. Or 30 years ago. I'm like, oh.
That's crazy.
So I'm so glad. This was written in the 70s.
Mhm.
Yeah. Taipan
I
was
think so,
written in
yeah.
66. So, but yeah, 75.
Yeah.
So it's just so good, and I'm glad that you guys got to experience it. It was really cool watching you guys experience it for the first time, and
Yeah.
rereading and remembering all the stuff. Like, oh, that's right.
Yeah. Super
Marco
cool.
does die in this. Marco does die in this book.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. Those last chapters, like even though,
Yeah,
it's
so
like the
good.
end. There were so many things at the end I just did not predict would happen.
Yeah, me either. Had
Yeah.
no idea at all. So, ow, hold on, ow.
Oh, poor guy. Oh.
This is my original. It's not my original because my original is green, but this is my second copy of Gaijin, which you can see is very water damaged from when I
Oh.
dropped it in the
wow.
water or something. Gaijin is 1,230 pages. Why is it so long? Why is the book so long? Oh, this one merges Taipan and Shogun because
That's like required reading then.
The
for
heir
reading.
to Noble House, basically the trading company in Taipan, the heir in Japan is a direct descendant of Tornaga. So,
Wow.
so you know, it can.
So you read all these books before, Alan?
Only these first three. I have not read King Rat, Noble House, or Whirlwind.
Dang, you read a lot of heavy tomes when you were.
See, I was all excited about this one because I was like, "Oh, it's a mass market paperback. It's not that big."
You got the green one. Where'd you get that?
That's cool.
That's my green guy, Jen. Give it back.
I found it at Goodwill for
You got the yellow
$1.99.
Taipan?
No, see, I
I'm
did
ordering the yellow Taipan. I'm
No,
mad
so,
about my yellow Taipan.
Alan, I have something for you actually. If you want this, I will send it to you because I want to get the trade paperbacks of these.
Yes,
You
please
can have
send me the
it.
green one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that.
My old Taipan.
You made him so
no, I
happy.
have the like
Oh,
No, I
old
love
old
that
hardcover
one.
of
My
that
wife.
I
one.
love those covers.
by hollering.
Um,
Sorry, no, I'm fine.
but I bought them all and then decided I wanted the trade paperbacks, as you do. So
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna have to replace them.
the heir to the magnificent English trading company, the Noble House, the direct descendant of the first Tornaga Shogun, battling to usher his country into the modern age. Oh, these are separate people. Never mind. A beautiful young Frenchwoman, forever torn between ambition and desire. Their lives intertwined in an exotic land newly open to foreigners. So this is after Meiji, after the Americans open it. Gaijin, which just means foreigner, torn apart by greed, idealism, and terrorism. Their passions mingle with monarchs and diplomats, assassins, courtesans, and spies. Their fates collide in James Clavell's latest masterpiece set in 19th century Japan, an unforgettable epic seething with betrayal and secrets, brutality and heroism, love and forbidden passion.
Dang it. That sounds so good.
I
Sounds
know!
I'm going to be destroyed not reading that now.
Gaijin is good. I don't know why people hate it. People don't
That
like
sounds like
Gaijin.
something
don't
I
know
would
why.
love.
I love
That
it.
sounds like it was written for me.
It
Dang
sounds
it.
like you should join the read along then.
I
It is
know.
I think it's literally complete. Well, there is no read along for Gaijin.
I'm going to feel so
Yes.
left out if I don't. I already
Yeah,
feel left out
we'll
not
make
being in
one.
key mark.
I mean, everybody's reading like the entire Malazan, Realm of the Elderlings, Song of Ice and Fire. We might as well do the Asian saga into 2024.
I agree. Just keep it
Oh
going.
my gosh. Why?
So
There's too many long books.
it's true
That's
story.
amazing.
All the books I want to
That
read are
Sounds so
long.
good.
An epic
Right?
novel of the birth of modern Japan.
We're just
Yeah.
like suddenly
Yep.
going to transform this whole corner of booktube from fantasy into historical fiction.
Look, historical fiction, like some of it, like it's just so good. Like just
Well,
I
Warlord
agree.
Chronicles was like one of my favorite trilogies of all
go on.
I
time.
haven't read that
Lord.
one yet. I
Yeah.
need to.
Oh, you're gonna
I wanna
love
read
it,
it, yeah.
Tori. You're gonna
I
love
want-
it, Alex.
Have you guys read
Alex, you read it,
the
right?
Birth of an
I
I
Empire
haven't
yet?
read it.
Birth
No,
of an
I haven't.
Empire?
And
Wait,
guess
no,
what?
is that the Eagledon?
Con Eagledon?
No, I have the whole series. I'm
That's
really high
only
up on my
it's only
list.
4 stars. I've never heard anybody not give Birth of an Empire 5 stars. I've never heard of it ever. Everyone seethes about Eagledon's freaking Genghis Khan books. Like it's his
Yeah.
magnum opus. So
It's very good. I've only
Yeah,
read
I'm
the
really
first one,
excited
but
for
I
that
really
one.
liked it.
I mean,
Yeah, I really
have
wanna
not
read
read it
that.
'cause I hate the Mongols, but I want to. I want to read it. It's just it's so good. Like Alex, you got to read Warlord. You need to.
I know.
You need to.
That's
listen
like
to
a big
Warlord.
Good.
That's a bit big for me. Probably May, June. I was planning on like early summer, just kind of impromptu when I feel like picking it up. And you guys, everyone always touts the audiobook, so I was probably just gonna be like when I have
It's so good.
some
It's
time.
Yeah.
and you don't
Like I
to
have the
worry about-
hold on my library for the audiobook, so I'm just like when that comes in on
Nice. I'm
I
gonna.
immersion read them because, like, especially the first book, there's a
That's true,
lot
with all the
that's thrown
names.
at you with the names
Yeah.
and places. Yeah.
I have the
I'm-
first one.
Nice.
Oh, but I
I'm
don't
gonna
think you
listen
even
to
have
an
to use
audio
audiobooks because I know, like, Mike
No.
loved them and he just read them
Yeah,
physically. So
yeah.
Yeah, but
I'm waiting
audio-
until I'm in more of an Arthurian legend mood because at the moment I'm just not interested.
not
I,
feeling it. Yeah.
I always hate Arthurian legends. That's why I was so surprised by Warlord. 'Cause I'm like, I hate Arthur. But it's so good.
I
Oh.
love
Yeah, I'm
like
excited.
the
I love
knights.
Cornwall.
Just not a fan of Arthur usually. The knights
Yeah.
are cool.
You might like Warlord then, because it's kind of demystifying the whole Arthurian legend
It
in a
really
way.
just feels like Warlords. It's just like it's like British daimyo, like warring
I'm here
for
for
once.
it.
It's what it is, and it's like
Yeah.
Arthur trying to find out a way out of the trap that he freaking created.
There was actually something in this book that reminded me a little bit of Warlord, but I can't give it away because I think it would be slightly spoilery. And by the way, Tori, you loved Augustus. There's also something in Augustus that
the
definitely
weird Mithras cult.
Oh, stop it! You're gonna spoil it. Yeah. That is definitely in Warlord.
Spoiler: there's mysticism in an Arthurian legend.
Oh,
Stop.
no.
Hold on.
Old stuff. which is
Well,
creepy.
that's actually an interesting question. I feel like there's a good question as to whether Warlord is historical fantasy or historical fiction.
Yeah, people will put it in both, and it's. I guess I'm excited to read it to see why.
So good.
Like,
Yeah,
what I
read
would
and
think.
find out.
Joanna,
Exactly.
if you get time, you don't have to join us on this little read along, but I want you to slot Taipan on your reading list so you can see Clavell tackle 19th century China right in the middle of the century humiliation, and it's just so good. It's so good. It's really good. I promise. And then you can read Gai Jin, which is also really good.
So basically, just join the
And we can
read.
read book 4.
I know. I really want to.
Everyone else says, Joanna, read this, and she's like, I'll read it, and then just reads it. Like,
But I already told so many people I would read like Guy Gabriel Kay this year and other.
I know. I need to
Read
read
Just
that.
overwhelmed.
Joanna,
I'm
it's
overwhelmed.
April. It's April. You can still do that.
I know, but there's also the A Song of Ice and Fire thing that's taken me a lot of time. And
What are y'all on? Storm of
Roma
Swords?
well,
Story.
I'm still reading A Storm of Swords. It's a long book.
That's
It's
too
like
long.
over
It is
1,000
a big, long
pages.
book.
It's awesome
Yeah,
though.
So good
That's-
though.
it is
I
awesome.
finished it yesterday, 2 days ago.
Dang.
I don't
And
know.
I cannot read
Oh
on
my
the.
gosh.
I cannot read as fast as you guys. Like I'm not that fast.
I was gonna. I don't want to do nothing. When I get off, I want to eat I want to finish eating my dinner, and I don't want to do anything. I don't want to work. I just want to read because I haven't had any chance to read. Stupid busy days. These dumb kids taking up my freaking like lunchtime, talking to me about like, hey, how are we gonna win next year? It's like this is awesome, but I got work to do, kids. Like, and the problem is I get sucked into it. I'm like, let's talk about how we're gonna win next year.
Yeah.
And it's like, dang it! Now an
That's
hour.
why
and
you
a
like
half-
Tornaga. Just pretend you're Tornaga.
Where am I gonna throw these hawks?
What's in it for me?
But the problem is these hawks. These are like the hawks that like like dive out of a tree and then like dive bomb the ground. They just like, oh well, that hawk sucks. Like this is what most of them are. Dang it! Now I want to read Gai Jin. I wasn't even going to read Gai Jin. I was just going to do Taipan and move on. But now I want to read Gai Jin.
I legit thought you were going to go through the whole Asian saga. I was like,
no, I don't got time for that. But I guess I am now.
Wait, so how long is Taipan? How many pages?
Only like 700.
It's not as long.
Yeah, it's only like 700 pages. And I'm only we're only reading the first 320 in April.
I will consider it. I'll consider it.
If you do, we got to get the gang back together and talk about Taipan.
Okay.
Only with Josh.
I'll consider it.
Yes.
I'll consider it.
It'll
depend on how well I do at the beginning of this month and how
I
much
got
I can get through Storm of
Same.
Swords.
With great skill and intelligence, Gai Jin is just the ticket. It has it all. Murders, battles, rapes, earthquakes, sword fights, insanely convoluted political intrigues, and innumerable accounts of pillowing. Is
that a good read to review?
No, it's the San Francisco Chronicle.
Where's Jimmy?
Entertaining. A
They're all
broad culture
excited
is
in the
actually
chat
as
again.
colorful as an ancient kabuki play. So
I thought you were supposed to be selling her on Taipan.
I know.
I don't have Taipan in front of me, or I'd sell her on that one too. Taipan is in the other room.
But that one sounds really good. That's the one we were reading for.
Gai Jin, look at the lady with a parasol. So Tori, you're sending me green Gai Jin, right?
Yes, I can do
yellow
that.
Taipan. God, I don't have.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have been not talking about Shogun for several.
Yeah, sorry,
minutes.
people, if anybody's in the chat.
Sorry, people, that we didn't go off of live.
We've kind of digressed a little bit.
That's all right. It's BookTube.
Yeah. It's
It
true.
wouldn't be BookTube without some tangents.
Word. I don't want
That's true.
stupid that one. I have that one. Where's the yellow one?
I can keep an eye out for it too, because I found that one at Goodwill.
I need yellow copy. Where is yellow copy, Taipan?
I love the Ellen frown.
Yeah.
I think in face. What is this? Who published this? Dell Fiction? Well, this is not. Did the other one Dell Fiction?
Well, at least you will have green gaijin.
Yes, Green Gaijin. I used to have Green Gaijin. I don't have it.
Cool. Well, I wanted to say too that I really had a great time chatting about this book with you guys, and Shogun really kind of reminded me how much I do actually love sprawling epics, because I think I'd gotten so caught up in the rush through as many smaller books as I can get through, and I've been working on that, but Shogun was a really good reset for me to say, nope, I'm taking 3 months and I'm reading this massive book and it's going to be great.
Yeah, it really does feel like a sweeping epic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet manages to stay very intimate with the characters, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
It does. Yeah, it has a lot of those quieter moments that I love too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
So
how does Yellow Taipan not exist?
Thank you, chat, for hanging out with us while we talked about Shogun.
I'm about to buy another Red Shogun because this one has Red Shogun and Yellow Taipan for $17. I'm about to buy them. What if I just bought Yellow Taipan? What the crap? Tori, you have reminded me that there are these. Yes! Taipan paperback pre-owned, $5.42, free shipping, buying it now. Yes, Yellow Taipan.
Are you sure it's that cover, or did they just put that cover
How do
in
I look? Do I have to look at the ISBN number?
I don't know. Sometimes they send you I got an older weird cover of Winter King that I wasn't expecting.
Huh.
So
interesting.
That does happen.
Acceptable. Should I send? I'm gonna send a message right now.
Go for it.
Yeah, you can send the seller a message.
Be like, hey, is this copy the exact?
Does it match the picture? Like whatever the classification is.
I gotta ask. I gotta know because I ain't buying it if it's not Yellow Taipan. I don't know why I care so much, but I like it. Look, guys, I don't make any sense. Y'all ignore me right now. Why? My life better.
Well, I think I'm going to let the chat go at least. So thank you guys. If you've been stuck with us from the very beginning of this, thanks for coming along for the ride, and we will see you guys potentially for Taipan. So see you guys later.
Hey, everyone.
Bye, guys.
See you later. Bye.